My personal experience of what I'm about to share. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnanam Jara Sharakaya Chakshurun Meditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakarpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutare Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatya Shatarine. Haribol, dear devotees. I hope you're ready because I have an incredible story to share with you today. This is the story of how we were able to collect more than 10,000 shalagram shilas. To be more precise, 10,342. And this morning, I was listening because to remember the details, because we hope to write a book on this, because the story is pretty far out. I made an audio of 1 hour, 10 minutes, and I listened to it all this morning so I could refresh my memory of all the crunchy details I'm about to share with you. So it all started a few years back. Actually, Maharaj, he received that divine inspiration in his heart to make a temple for 10,000 shalagram shilas. So, what is a shalagram shila? Yeah, it's a deity of Krishna. Actually, a shalagram shila. Sorry.
Deity of Krishna in form of rock.
Yes, actually, the shalagram shila, it's directly Krishna. For example, when we make a murti for Krishna in like his form, we need to install the murti. But the shalagram shila, it's directly Krishna. You don't need to install him. And actually, in the Shastra, there's one part of the Shastra where there's a few verses about these shalagram shilas, and they can only be found in this one specific mountain in Nepal. And they have to fall from this peak, from this mountain, and they can only be considered shalagram shilas if they are found in the bottom, in the riverbed of the Kali Gandaki, which is a manifestation of Tulsi Maharani. There's a whole story I won't share. Maybe another time we can share that story. But Tulsi Maharani, she curses Vishnu to take the form of a rock, of a stone, and Vishnu, he curses Tulsi Devi to become a plant. So there's a whole story which we'll not share this morning because we are about to embark on this very special journey. So it all started a few years back. So Maharaj, like I was saying, received this divine inspiration in his heart. So then we started to organize. I was not there at that time, So they did their first trip, and Sudam Prabhu, he was staying in a temple there in Rouen. He has a sister who is used to go to Nepal and India because she has a shop where she sells different cloth from India, like silk cloth. And he was asking questions to her, what would be the best time, because she knew well Nepal. So he was asking her, what would be the best time for me to go to Nepal, because my guru he received this inspiration so that we will go for the first time collect Shalagram Shilas. And she said, you should go in February. So because he didn't know, he never has been before. So they went together. I think there was maybe at that time 3 of them. So they go to Kathmandu, and when they get there, they were about to go, because from Kathmandu, you have to take, and I've taken that ride, this is a really bumpy ride. It's a 21-hour drive in a bus, in a very not luxury bus. And it's like that, for 21 hours. Non-stop. It's like such a headache. And it's really austere, actually. And then because you go very, very high, it's like thousands of meters, you kind of feel dizzy after a while, and it's quite austere. So when they got to the bus station and they said, well, we're ready, we want to go to Kagbeni. This is the place that is just on the shore of the Kaligandaki River. And when they arrived, they said, actually, it's February. Now there's water in the river, and there's snow in the mountains. You cannot go now. You can only go in April. So they were very disappointed. They couldn't go to Kagbeni at this time, but we went back later.
No, they couldn't go.
They couldn't go at that time because it was the winter, and winter in the Himalayas is intense. It's like a lot of snow. There's so much snow that the roads are completely impracticable. Anyway, you cannot go through the roads. So finally, they didn't know what to do. So they went around. They decided to go to the Pashupatinath temple. It's a very special temple in Kathmandu with a special self-manifested deity of Lord Shiva, and there's a footprint of Lord Vishnu there. And as they were speaking, because they were saying, maybe while we're here for the next 2 weeks, maybe we can see if in Kathmandu proper we could find some Shalagram Shilas. So basically, they go to that temple and they start speaking around, and they get to meet Govinda Tandon, our well-wisher. You'll understand why now. So Govinda Tandon is a political man, but that is very pious. For many years, he was the president of that temple. And he's also the president of a very special Ram temple. And the deities there, they're made of Shalagram Shila. Beautiful, big deities. Because, as I'll explain later, Shalagram Shilas are in different forms, but to find big ones is very, very rare. And the deities of Ram are like maybe tall like this, very tall for Shalagram Shila, and they were made out of Shalagram Shilas. So they get to speak with him, and finally, by his compassion towards us, he decided to gift us with 300 Shalagram Shilas. So that was the first trip. We even got a letter from him authorizing us, because actually one thing you have to understand is that you'll know why later also. Remember this detail. The Shalagram Shilas, they are the treasure of Nepal. And you understand why we went into so many complications to get them out of the country. This is completely crazy. So they get a letter from him. They go to, they bring in 2 bags. They go through the immigration at the airport. It passes nicely. And then we go next year. This is when I come in. So I just had moved in the ashram there in France. It was I was there in March 2018. And then while I was there, we decided we will go again to Nepal. So all the money I had in my bank account, I used to get a ticket to Nepal. And this time around, I think there were 7 of us. My mother also. My mother, she accompanied us also to collect Shalagram Shila. So this time around, we were able. Actually, what I did, that's true. I went with my mother 1 week before, and we prepared everything because we're about to embark on this special journey towards Kagbeni. And because we wanted to collect a lot of salagram shilas, what we did this year, I went 1 week before and we made steel boxes. They are very precious when you want to collect shilas. So we made big steel boxes so that we could put them together as we collect them. So we got ropes and a bunch of different things, because when you go there, there's nothing to eat. It's in the mountains. There's not much people that eat meat there. They're Buddhists. So we had to bring like cans, and bread, because it was much easier like that. Like we had like what we offered to Krishna for all this time. It was like Chinese noodles with like vegetables in a can, or sometimes it was with couscous also that we will mix together with chickpeas and things like that. And after 2 weeks, let me tell you, you're getting fed up with Chinese noodles and couscous. So finally, we organize everything. We go there. We go to Kagbeni this year. And as we were there, it was so incredible. Actually, okay, you have to picture, just think about it for a sec. You go, it's in April. So there's no water on the river. And there are millions of stones all around you. And because of the dust that has accumulated over the years and centuries and millennia on these stones, actually, you cannot really see like this how the Shalagram Shilas in color are different from the other stones. And in the Shastra, it is said, this is very mystical, but actually there are special worms, transcendental worms, that are manifestation of Lord Vishnu, and they are the one who actually, they carve different chakras or symbols in the Shalagram Shilas. There are 64 kinds of Shalagram Shilas, but what we could experience also, there's many other different forms. But there are 64 main forms of Shalagram Shilas. A Shila can be worshipped in any form because it's directly Krishna, but some are more like Damodar. If you see, for example, the round ones, like a bowl, this is Damodar. The one that is in the form of a fetus, it is Gopal, baby Krishna. So there are so many different kinds of Shila. For example, the one with the big mouths, very rare Shilas to find. There's a huge mouth in the Shila itself, with intricate carving is inside. This is Lakshmi Narayan Shila. There's Sudarshan Chakra Shila. It's round like a wheel, and there are like specific chakras all around that make it look like a chakra, Sudarshan Chakra. So there are so many different forms. And imagine yourself, you're there, and you see stones all around. So how do you get to find Shalagram Shilas? It's quite mystical. And it's a deep meditation. You have to pray to Krishna in his form as Shalagram Shila to allow you to find him. And it's really mystical. Actually, I mean, you have to, I hope you can come one day. We were hoping to do a last, and I'll tell you at the end why we want to go for a last one. But actually, you see them shining. I remember that I was in a bus. We were getting to Kagbeni, and as we were getting there, on the riverbed, it was maybe like 100 yards away, I saw a huge Shila. It was maybe big like this. It was shining like a sun. And Maharaj and I were both looking at it, and it was shining, in the sun. Very special. So it's just mystical. You pray, and then Krishna, he brings you to him, and we found so many different with special symbols, like forms that we had never seen before. I remember in the ulterior trip, Sudam Prabhu, he found like a huge Shila in the form of a conch shell. Very beautiful. You can find also Balaram Shilas. Usually Shilas are black in color, but they can be red. There are Balaram Shilas that are very red, that are white, and we found a huge one, big like this, Balaram Shila. And what's interesting is that as we were asking people, they said, no, you should not go to Kagbeni. There are no more Shalagram Shilas. And actually we found so many rare Shilas that were completely beyond our expectations. So in this trip, we collected 1,500 Shalagram Shilas. So what we did, actually, when we went back to Kamandu, maybe we had like 4 or 5 days left, and before we will go back to France. So when we were speaking to Dr. Govinda Tandon, who had given us 300 Shalagram Shilas in the past with a letter, he told us that this time around, since we have more Shalagram Shilas, we should get like a more authentic authorization from the government. So what we did, we went to the French embassy. No, first, I'm sorry. Okay. So first, we went to the Department of Mines and... No, okay. There are many details. So first, we went to the French embassy. And it was so mystical. We get there was 5 of us there in the entrance of the French embassy. We ring, And then we present ourselves and everything, and they welcome us. We're able to speak with Arnaud Champly, which is none other than the direct assistant to the ambassador of France in Nepal. So he receives us with Dipesh, which I will meet in a ulterior trip also, which was very helpful. Dipesh was like his translator, for Nepalese affairs and everything. So we sit down with them, we explain our whole story, how, we're the only Hindu temple recognized by the French government. And we have this project of having a temple for 10,000 Shalagram Shilas to promote the spiritual heritage of Nepal, because we had to. So, yes, exactly. So we explained the whole story and everything. We had a few pictures of a temple and everything. And finally, they were just very receptive, and they wrote us a letter. But they said that we should. So they wrote a letter, official letter of the embassy, saying that we fully support the project, and whomever needs clarification, please accept this letter as a support. So finally, they told us to go to the Department of Mines and Geology. So we go there, and I start speaking with them, trying to see if we could get a letter from them also, just to make sure. And they said, no, actually, although we deal with mines and with stones, we're not the proper department. You should go to the Department of Archaeology. So we go to the Department of Archaeology, and so I get to meet that Ram Bahadur Kumar, which at that time I had a simple post as a secretary, but later on he got a bigger responsibility, and he helped us further also along the way. So we get to speak with him. He was just very favorable. He was a Hindu himself, and he said, yes, okay, let me manage, see what I can do. And also he went to the Director General of the Department of Archaeology, a lady who was just very favorable towards us. And they gave us an authorization letter to bring back 1,500 Shalagram Shilas. So what we did, actually, this happened, we just had 4 and 5 days, and the last day, we received their letter. The last day. Actually, we had 1 hour before the cargo shipping company would close. And we had 2 hours just to prepare everything. So we had to go in 2 hours. We had to go to the Department of Archaeology. They had to stamp every box. So they had to put a stamp and make sure that it could not be opened, put it with wire, iron wire and everything, so that it was safe. And, okay, we have inspected the boxes. This is where there is. So we got that, and just in time, I think it was straight, 5 o'clock, they were about to close, and we were there, and then we were able to send all the, and we also had a sum that we brought with us in our luggage. So this was the second trip. And then because our goal was to collect 10,000 Shalagram Shilas.
So your mom had a good time with this one?
So, sorry?
Your mom, she also
my mom, she had the time of her life. And she found beautiful Shilas also. She's not a Vaishnavi herself, but it was a very special experience for her. And she got, to collect Shilas, so it's very auspicious also. So it goes like this. We had collected, that means 1,800 Shalagram Shilas, and we still had 8,200 to go. So we had to go back, and when we decided to go back the next year, we thought we will bring all the rest. So we had in our mind to bring 8,200 Shalagram Shilas. So I go this time 2 weeks before, and I prepare everything. This time we decide to make not 15. We had brought 15 boxes with us with 1,500 Shalagram Shilas. I get to make 32 steel boxes.
That's it?
Yes, 32. But you see, they're big. They're like this, tall like this size. It's pretty big. So the Prabhus arrived. I had prepared everything beforehand. And the thing is that before we started the journey, I went to see Bahadur Kumar. And at this time, he had a better post, a better job in the Department of Archaeology. He said, yeah, no problem. We did last year. What you do, you just go now. You go to collect the Shalagram Shilas, and I will prepare letters for you, no problems. That's nice. Wow, okay. So based on his words, we decide to go. And when we arrive at the bus station, imagine, okay, it's first of all, we need boga for 3 weeks, and there's nothing to eat there. So we have these 32 boxes, and we get to the bus, and we had to fit all these 32 boxes on top of the bus, and all our luggages and everything. It was just so crazy. And then we had to negotiate with them. They wanted a huge price so that we put all the boxes there. Finally, we negotiated 10,000 Nepali rupees, which was not so bad. So we get to put all the boxes together. We, tighten with rope and everything. And I remember, like, again, bumpy ride, 21 hours. And then we get to arrive in Johnson just before Cagbeni. And just imagine the bus is already tall. But with the boxes that were like this, it was super tall. And we arrived in Johnson, and they did not notice, but when they passed through the town, there were electrical wires, and the boxes, they kind of like cut as the bus was passing through. It completely destroyed the the electrical wires that were there. And then, it's Nepal, so they were saying, like, we have your names, you're going to pay for this. But finally, we didn't get any response later. Anyway, that was not our problem. It's the bus guy who did not, calculate But like for 30 minutes, they were speaking like that to us, chastising us and everything. You know how it is. So finally, we just move on and everything. We arrived in Cagbeni. But this year, I don't know, you'll understand why, but I had this crazy, stupid idea to go to a Home Depot, like in France. We call that Leroy Merlin. So, and I had this idea because the second year we went, okay, I'll explain to you how we do. So first, there's 7 of us, and actually, I'll share some crunchy details. This is 3,300 meters high altitude. And also, like the riverbed, it's like very fine sand, and there's so much wind, and the sand is so fine, and if it touches your skin, it burns and cuts your skin. So when we went there, we had to put like gloves, big goggles, like gumshoes around, so it wouldn't touch at all our skin. And it's 3,000, over 3,000 meters high. It's hard on oxygen, and also the shilas, they're big and they're heavy, and sometimes we had to wear like 25 kgs, 30 kgs in our back. So what we will do, we will separate in different parts of the riverbed, and when our bags were full, then we will go to what we call the checkpoint. And then Maharaj, who is expert in salagram shilas, he will sit down and we will show all the shilas, and then he will decide which one he will keep and which one we'll put back in the riverbed. Because he wanted shilas with special chakras, either very special form or that have special chakras, special symbols. You can, maybe I can share a video with Siddhahari of our temple. You can see the salagram shilas that are there. So basically, when we sit down, he does the checkpoint, he looks like that. And so it's heavy, After that, imagine like after you finish, you have like 50 kgs in your back. You have to bring, or let's say more now, like 30 something kgs everyone has in his back, So it's very heavy. It's quite austere. And we do that every day for many days, If you want to get strong, you come to Nepal and collect shilas. Yes, 30 kgs in the back, 25, 30 kgs.
Like 55 pounds.
Oh, yes. No, it's more in pounds, huh?
60 pounds.
Yes, it's quite heavy,
60 pounds not easy, bro.
Yes, it's not easy. It's quite heavy.
How much did I?
43 pounds.
Yeah.
43 pounds, huh?
And 1.5.
Yeah, it's heavy, huh? So basically, because it was so austere, and we had to, it's not only that, you keep that all day, you go to checkpoint, and after that, you have to go back. It's a way, because you have to go back to the village of Cagbeni. So what I decided, anyway, you understand why it was a completely stupid and crazy idea. So I decided maybe we could take garden carts. You know the garden carts? They have like a wooden plank on the bottom, and they have big wheels, like kind of. Yeah, garden carts that you can pull around to collect stones or things like that. They're light and they're kind of sturdy, and they have big wheels that we could pull on the riverbed. So we had 2 of these. So the first day, we're so happy. We collected the first day 754 salagram shilas, and we were like conquerors. There were 7 of us with our big goggles. You don't look, you really look out of the ordinary. So, and we came into the village with our garden carts. With the big goggles and big, you couldn't see the shilas, but there was huge bags in the carts. So naturally, we're in Cagbeni, the kingdom of the salagram shilas. So when we didn't look, how do you say, inaperçu? We didn't seem like everyone saw us, basically. And we, this time, we were staying in the guest house of the mayor of Cagbeni. So that night, the daughter of the mayor, who kind of was taking care of the guest house, she came to me and she said, did you collect salagram shilas today? And I said, yes. She said, okay. So she went to speak to her father, who was the mayor. So he brought us, and he told us, here in Kagbini, the Shalagam Shilas, they are the property of Kagbini, and we're a local government here. This is our treasure. We plan to make a temple with 100,000 Shalagam Shilas, so you can't really do that, And then he was asking us, how many Shalagam Shilas you collected? I said, a couple. I didn't say 754. Not to make him, explode. So, and then we spoke a little bit, and he said, well, actually, now you cannot use the garden carts anymore. Maybe you can just bring a few. You take a bag, and you can bring a few with you. So it stayed like that. But I could see he was kind of like he was like, he was on the edge, So it stays like that, and he calls me back 1 hour later. So we all go and meet him in his office, and his wife is there, and she's looking at us, but really angry. So what's happening? And he starts speaking with us. Because we had told him before that we had authorization from like Govinda Tandon, who used to be the president of Pashupatinath. We were in touch with the Department of Archaeology. The previous year, we already had authorization and everything. So he was going to make letters for us. We could get a letter of the embassy. So, and he said, I told him, if you want, I can give you the numbers of the embassy and Ram Bahadur Kumar and also Dr. Govinda Tandon. He took them. And after that, he came back and he said, actually, you know what? I called them and it was a false number. I said, what? No. Actually, we are in touch with them and everything. I said, no. He said, no, you're lying. And then he became really angry and he said, actually, if you're not careful, I'll share your story with you. There was this businessman from Pokhara. He came with a truck. And with a tractor, a big tractor, he collected Shalagam Shilas and we put him to jail. And he didn't directly say, I'll put you to jail, but he was trying to threaten us, And he became really angry, and his wife also, this is our property, what are you doing? And he was really threatening us, and I won't say the words, but he was saying, actually, I don't care for this Dr. Govinda Tandon or Bahadur Kumar. I will shoot them, I will kill them, and fuck them. I said that, I'm sorry. So it was just really vulgar and threatening us, using, bad words and everything. So we could see, it was becoming a complicated situation. He says, you have no right to stay here. If you stay here, I don't know what's going to happen to you, Yeah, really, really threatening us. Then we're trying to discuss with him and everything, and he said, no, I don't believe in you, no. I'm sure you're lying. I tried to call them, it's not working. I don't believe in your letters. Anyway, here we're local government. We decide what's happening. Whatever they decide in Kathmandu here is different. We're in the mountains and everything. It's a different government. It's a local government. So he was giving all these arguments. So we decided to leave the next day because anyway, he had forbidden us to collect more Shalagam Shilas. So we could see there were no possibility. I remember that night I went to speak with Maharaj because usually, it is known that most Shilas you can find in Kagbini, and we're going to go 7 kilometers downhill to Jumson. I think maybe even 10 kilometers downhill to Jumson. It's the same riverbed, but it's in another part, and I was kind of afraid that we wouldn't get to find more Shalagam Shilas. So I go and I speak with Maharaj. We're in the same room, And I tell him, Maharaj, I'm afraid I don't know if we'll find as many. And then he looks at me and he says, are you a theist or are you an atheist? I said, I'm a theist. He said, well, if you're a theist, why don't you believe in Krishna? Do you think Krishna won't make the arrangements for us to find beautiful Shalagam Shilas? I said, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I agree. So we go down and actually, first of all, we go to Jumson and it's like, when we move ourselves around with 32 boxes, 7 people, all the equipment, you don't look...
inconspicuous.
Yes, exactly. And we went around and we found this only one guest house in Jumson who accepted us. And even though
It's a different town?
it's a different town, it's like where trekkers they go, because
From the end it forbid you?
it's a different town. Yes, it's 10 kilometers downhill. So, and it's a place where trekkers they go, and they didn't want to accept us because we wanted to stay 2 weeks. And usually these, in the mountains like that, these guest houses are for trekkers where they stay 1 or 2 days. So 2 weeks, what are you guys gonna do for 2 weeks? And we had all these boxes. They were kind of freaking out. And then I remember, like, we had to bring our kitchen. We were cooking because we have to cook for Krishna. So we had to cook in their kitchen and all the equipments. And they were looking at us. I could see, it was getting a little awkward for them. But finally, they were not pushing it. And one thing I forgot, an important detail. So the morning we left for Jumson, we had packed all, we had all the boxes in the bus, so it doesn't look also, it's people can see. So we had like the bus, half of the bus was full with these boxes, and one of them was full with these 754 Sheilas. And I had again my idea that we could maybe trade the cards because we couldn't use them anymore. It was attracting too much attention. So I had the idea because there in Kalbeni there was a shop, and the man he was selling salagram shilas, because we have to understand in Nepal, because these people usually are Buddhists, they don't believe in the sacred aspect. For them, it's just a normal stone. And what they do, because they have very special symbols, if you cut them inside, they're even more beautiful chakras. So what they do, they cut them in half and they sell it to tourists like fossils. But the thing in Shastra, it says that if you break a Shalagram Shila, you go to hell in your next life. And you go to a hellish destination because it's Krishna himself. It's an offense to do that. So in a way also for us, when we did that, it was to protect and worship the Shilas, because otherwise many of them, they get, exploited for selling like souvenirs to the tourists. So we decided, so we traded the two cards for like 500 Shalagram Shilas, very beautiful ones. Most of them were Damodar, round Shilas. So the morning, as we're about to leave, a police comes in the bus and say, hey, you don't have the right to leave. Actually, I saw what you did. I was there on the corner and I saw you trade these two garden cards for these Shalagram Shilas, and you don't have the right to do that. And then we speak to him, we have authorization, He says, no, you're coming with me to the police station. So we go to the police station, it took hours. And then like I was trying to speak to Ram Bahadur Kumar, he was not answering. Then finally I get Govinda Tandon, the president. He used to be president of the Pashupatinath temple, or a well-wisher for Shalagram Shilas. So he says, he tries to speak, with the police, and they say no. He said, okay, let me call someone else. In the mountains there was Swami Madhvacharya. We didn't speak a word of English. So he speaks to him and he tells him that to call me. So I start speaking, but the guy, the Swami, he doesn't speak a word of English, and I'm not able to make myself understood in everything. And then he had also spoken with Govinda Tandon, and I give him to the police to speak with him. And then he says to the police, I don't know these guys. I don't know what they're about. I'm not going to, support what they do and everything. So finally, we don't have the help of this Swami. And so the police, no, you have no right. And also what happened is that they had taken the driver's license of the bus driver so that he wouldn't leave. So just for that, it took us hours just for the bus driver to get his license back. And finally, we had to leave the 500, and it was paining our heart because we're going to leave them there. We wanted to bring them back to worship them, 10,000 little Krishnas. So it stayed like that. We went to Jomson. And as we were in Jomson, because we were afraid what's going to happen, it happened like that to the police, because there are many police checkpoints on the way. It's 21 hours. And you go in the mountains and everything. You don't know what you can bring in or whatever out. So there are many police checkpoints, and we're afraid maybe we need an authorization. Because we'll have 32 boxes with us, they want to know what's inside and everything. And if they go and look and we don't have the proper letters, something's going to happen, So basically, what we do, I call Bahadur Kumar. No, this time he was like the general officer for the Department of Archaeology. And I'd explained to him what happened, like, can you help us and everything? And then as I was speaking with him, he started to become really scared. Yeah. And I could see his mood was changing. He was even like kind of frustrated and everything. He said, you know what? Like, I vouched for you, but I don't want to lose my job. This is the police. I don't want to have to do anything. You go back to Canada. Myself, I could go to jail. He was speaking to me like that. I said, oh, wow. Okay, it's different talk now. So I said, okay, no problem. You know what? Like, what I'll do, I'll come to Kathmandu and we can speak. I'll see what we can do and everything. So I left them there in the hope that I will go back to Kathmandu, get the necessary letters, and then go back to continue to collect Shilas with them. So this time, I was so happy. Paid $125, and I got a plane. Not only for the luxury of taking the plane, but also I didn't have time, and I didn't want to lose an extra day in 21 hours in the bus. So this beautiful, little plane, 25 passenger, I think even maybe, 12, something like that. And we got beautiful view of the Himalayas. Then I get down in the morning, take a bus from Pokhara to Kathmandu. And then, so in the morning, I go to see Ram Bahadur Kumar and we start speaking and everything. And actually, he tells me, he says, this year it might be a little different. The Director General of the Department of Archaeology is different now, and he is not so favorable. So I said, okay, no problem, let me speak with him. So I sit down with him, then we start speaking and everything. And then as we're speaking, he says, okay, well, what is your name? I say, my name is, at that time, Hayagriva Das. He says, Hayagriva? But why do you keep that name? I mean, you were born with like another name. Why don't you keep your birth name? I said, I'm a monk. And in our tradition, we receive initiation and our spiritual master gives us a initiated name. My name is Hayagriva Das now. And then as he was speaking with me, I could see that he was kind of like criticizing me, kind of pulling me down because I was a foreigner, I could feel in him that there was like, he was not favorable. And then he looks at me like that, but very nonchalantly, but okay. So my name is Damodar. Do you know what is Damodar? I said, yes, I know what is Damodar. This is the pastime of Damodar that I explained to him. He said, oh, okay, but really, and I could feel, I was not favorable at all and kind of judgmental because we're foreigners. And then, so it goes like that. I go to meet Ram Bahadur Kumar and he say, actually this time around, this Director General, he doesn't believe at all in your project. He said he doesn't trust you, doesn't trust your project and everything. So I was thinking, what are we going to do, So because he wanted to create problems for us, not to get authorization, he said, okay, I'll accept this time. So Bahadur Kumar, he went back and spoke to him and everything. He came back to me and he said, okay, he's ready to accept if you get, well, can you show us the letters? Because the previous year we had the letters of French embassy and everything. But what we did, we're just in the spur of the moment and we're so, tired and doing so many things at the same time. We kind of like when we didn't make a copy of the letter of the French embassy and the letter of the Department of Archaeology, and we gave the original ones. So I didn't have any proof, actually. We didn't have any details. So it was difficult, this will have helped our cause. So I said, okay, I understand. You don't have that. But what you need to do, you need first to get the letter of French embassy. And then the French embassy has to send both a letter to the Department of Archaeology and to the Department of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has to write a letter for us, also supporting the project, but giving, their blessings for the Department of Archaeology to go on with this, this business. So I was thinking, how am I going to do that, It's like, Nepalese bureaucracy? I don't know that, It's like, it's not my cup of tea. So I was thinking, how am I going to do that? It's impossible. So you see, this is a complete miracle what happened. So first, I go to the French embassy, and this time, not, time, place, circumstance. I try to, I go to the gate there, and I ring, you can call them. So I call and I say, you remember, like, we're there last year, and I'm here again this year. I'm coming back to you because we have this project. We want to collect more salagram shilas. You remember our goal was to collect 10,000 to make this beautiful temple. We're the only Hindu temple recognized by French government and everything. So yes, I remember you. But actually now Arnaud Champi is not available and you cannot speak with him. So I told him, but what can I do? What's the possibility? She gave me a number. She said, okay, you take that number and you call and you try to, see what can be done. So I go back to my room and everything. I call them. And this time I meet Dipesh, who was, remember, the translator. Dipesh, our dear friend. So Dipesh, he tells me, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. We're very busy now. And I beg him, please help us. I cannot do this without you. I need this letter. I mean, I have my friends there in the middle of nowhere in the Himalayas. And they're spending 2 weeks there collecting the salagram shilas. We spend money, we invested time, energy, so much organization. This is so important for us. We want to promote the spiritual culture of Nepal. We want to make it accessible to other French people. We're going to make this beautiful temple, beautiful darshan of all these shilas, to promote. And even we can invite the, the Nepalese in France and everything. I was trying to put a lot, So, okay, he said, yeah, let me know what I can do. Let me see what I can do. So it stays like that, and finally I get a letter from him. I receive a letter. But I had asked him to get both a letter for the Department of Archaeology and Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And he only gave me for the Department of Archaeology. And I said, how am I going to get into the Ministry of Foreign Affairs if I don't have a letter from the French embassy? So finally, I go to this build. Okay, I tried to go in. I didn't go which door and everything. And this, I thought there's this huge door. It's the biggest door of the. It's a huge, huge building. It's like walls, big walls, and all the ministries are inside. And you have, like soldiers with big guns everywhere. So I thought, let me go to the biggest door. So I go in and I tell them, okay, so I explained to him the situation. I need to meet the director or the minister of foreign affairs because I need his approbation letter so that I can bring the silas to France. And they say, no, you cannot enter to here. Go to the south door. I go to the south door, and then this huge, there's a huge line of all Nepalese people. Everything is written in Nepali. It's like, how am I going to do that? I don't understand anything. And I wait in the line until I get there. So the police beforehand, they had told me, if you want, this is government property. All the ministries are there. All the ministers, if you want to go in, you need to get a letter of approval from the ministry you're going to visit inside. So I get into the south door, and then there's this police on the entrance. She doesn't practically speak any English. So I try to make myself understood. I remember I have my phone, I use Google. So finally, we're able to kind of speak to each other. So I tell her, I need to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Can you let me call them? So she gives me this paper. Everything is written in Nepali. So there's a guy next to me. I show to him, can you show me what is the number for the Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? So he shows me, I call, and I speak to the secretary and I explain the whole situation. And she tells me, yes, come in. So, wow, okay, nice. So I get in, I got this, because, I show my passport. They give me this official letter that I can go inside the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So that's one thing, but how to find the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in this labyrinth is another thing. It's like in India, you ask for directions. You go right and then left, and then the other says, no, you go straight and then right. You never go to get the proper direction. So I asked the first person, he said, no problem. It's the you stay on your left, and it's the second building on your left. I go there, Ministry of Agriculture. I asked them, please, I need to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They said, no problem. Actually, you go on your right. It's the third building on your right. I go there. It's the Ministry of Used Waters. I said, please. So again, it's not a joke. This is what happened to me. So I go to this. Then they ask me, no, actually, you have to turn left. You go straight, and it will be on your right. I ask again. This is the Ministry of Culture and Education. I said, please. Okay. I'm speaking to the men at the entrance. I said, okay. I've been 15 minutes going at it. They all tell me different directions. Can you please tell me, but seriously, where's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? I say, yeah, no problem. It's just behind the house of the Prime Minister. I say, okay, thank you. I get there. I see in big letters. On that building, everything was in, no, on these buildings, there were signs in English. So I get to see Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kija, yes. So I go in. I go up, and then I meet the secretary. I explain to her my situation. She says, no, okay, no problem. You can sit there. 10, 15 minutes later, this Ghanshyam Bandhari, my favorite name of Krishna, Ghanshyam. The one with the blue lotus feet. Very beautiful name. So Ghanshyam Bandhari, he welcomes me, very favorable. I explain to him the whole situation and everything. But the thing is that I didn't have a letter of French embassy. Yes, I didn't have a letter of the French embassy, recommending the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I explained the whole situation to me. He said, okay, let me see what we can do. I appreciate your project. It's very commendable that you're doing this in France and everything. And I was thinking, the first one who is favorable. Thank you, God. So he told me, okay, yes, no problem. I will make a letter directly to the Department of Archaeology, since you don't have that from French embassy. And actually what he did, he spoke directly to Ram Bahadur Kumar from the Department of Archaeology. He said, yes, actually, you should do something. You should They have a nice project. They're sincere, Vaishnavas. You should. I'm sending him with him a letter, and then you can speak with him. So directly, I go to the Department of Archaeology, and as I get there, listen to this. I had all the letters they've asked me, all the letters, and then Director General. Actually, I remember he passes Damodar Gautam. He passes, doesn't even look at me.
Yeah.
Like this, I say, oh man, it's not starting well. So so I go back and speak with him, and he tells me, actually, no, you don't have all the letters, but you told me, and you told me letter from French embassy, then and then the letter I have the letter of Minister of Foreign Affairs directly. So what else do you need? And he said, no, this is not enough. Actually, this Department of Archaeology is not the proper department for that. We are under a bigger department, that is the Department of Tourism, Education and Culture. There's like 40 different organizations under this huge ministry in Nepal. So I said, we are not the big boss here. If you want, you need to get a letter from the Department of Tourism. I was thinking, what's going to happen, And then the clock was ticking. I was getting close. The Prabhus, they were going to come down from Kagbeni, and I needed to have all the authorization to give to them in case they have a police checkpoint. And also I wanted to get a letter that will approve us getting the 500 Shalagram Shilas that were taken away by the police in Kagbeni. So I was thinking, I chanted my rounds really well, because I was thinking we need divine intervention. Because clock was ticking, where we're getting really close, to the end. So I go to this, Department of Tourism. This is where you can get visas and everything. So I go in, I speak with the secretary, and she tells me, okay, well, actually, the Director General is quite busy right now. So there were like 10, 15 people already in his room. And she said, wait here. She goes in the room, and as she opens the door, I can see there's a bunch of people there. And I went with her inside. I followed her, and I went with her, and I sat on the chair. And I was thinking, I have to do something, otherwise nothing's going to work. You have to put your foot on the door, So I get there, and I sit down, and she looks at me like that, And so I speak with the director. He sees me, dressed like this. Okay, what are you doing? What do you want? And all these, Nepalese people, they were speaking. And they were looking at me because I was interrupting the whole discussion. So I look at him in the eyes and I said, I explained the whole story. We're Vaishnavas. We want to promote spiritual culture in France, to promote this spiritual heritage of Nepal, and blah, 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 the whole speech. So he looks at me, but he said, here, actually, we're not the actual Department of Tourism. We're a branch. We're just a small branch of the actual ministry of, he gives me a whole name that was a little different. I don't remember on the top of my head right now. I said, okay, but what can I do? He said, okay, you go back to the secretary and she should speak to Mr. Dakal. So I go back to the secretary. She calls him. I can speak to him. He's the actual minister of this official, big ministry of tourism, culture, education, and something else. So I talk to him. I say, please, I really need to meet you. You're my last hope. The last letter, I need to get authorization to bring the Shilas. My friends are waiting in the Himalayas. I don't want to keep them waiting. It's cold there. So can I meet you? Would that be possible? And he says, yes. Okay, so we get a meeting. Again, I have to go in that huge, building, this labyrinth. Again, I have to find where is that actual ministry. So he gives me an appointment. I have to be at 11 o'clock the next day. I go back to the South Gate. I knew it pretty well back at that time. So then I had to call again. I'm here, to meet the Director General. I mean, he was like the Minister of the Tourism. So I go inside, and it's all empty. There's just one Mataji who is kind of sweeping the floor. She doesn't speak a word of English. And I show her the paper. Dakal, Mr. Dakal. She speaks to me, and then Dakal, and they go like this. And I say, oh yeah, no. She shows me where to go. So I go in, take the stairs, and then I meet the secretary. She says, wait for a while. And then this Mr. Dakal meets me. He was like a kshatriya, really strong build. And we start speaking. He was completely favorable. He's saying, wow, I'm so proud of what you're doing. myself, I'm a Hindu, and then we start speaking about Varnashram Dharma, chanting Gayatri Mantra and everything, And he says, it's so important. Myself, I worship God every day. I take deep, I do yoga and breathing exercise. I said, that's good, So, it was just so favorable. And he was just so touched by what we're doing. He said, you know what? I appreciate so much what you're doing. Let me call Damodar, the famous Damodar. And I will never forget him, okay? So he calls directly Damodar Gautam. He says, he's the minister of the big boss, of the department. There's 40 ministries under him. So he tells him, okay, like I'm giving him a letter, and I want you to approve this project. It's very important for me. I appreciate what they're doing. So listen to remember that detail. He completely approved, and he was the big boss. So, he hangs up, and then he tells me, we're both Hindu brothers. Can we have a brother embrace? So I go like that, and then we, embrace dearly, and then he says, I'm so happy to meet you, and please bless us, and I wish you all the best in your project and everything. And it was really like a kshatriya, but very, at the same time, very pious and proud, and wanted to protect the spiritual heritage of Nepal. We had a beautiful discussion. So I go, I go back to the Department of Archaeology, and this was actually, yes. Okay, then I spoke again on the phone with Ram Bahadur Kamal. I said, okay, now you have everything. You can come, and we'll give you the authorization. You can come tomorrow, and we'll give you all the authorization. From the Department of Archaeology. I said, nice. Okay, thank you so much. So basically, what happens? I call the Prabhus. I tell them anyway. There was one day left to come. They had to come back. We had to go to leave for France. The time was almost finished. So I tell them, you can come tomorrow. I'm going to make the letters. I'm going to try to get the checkpoint letters for the police and everything. The letter also for the police in Kagbeni, so we can collect these shilas. We were thinking about them and feeling separation from the 500 Krishnas that were waiting for us in Kagbeni.
In the meantime, they collected 8,000 shilas?
Yes. In the meantime, they collected 8,400 salagram shilas.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll show you videos. You can see it's out of this world. Extremely rare salagram shilas, like it never been seen before, of so many different types, more than these 64 main forms of salagram shilas. It's so beautiful. Jai Gaur, how was your darshan of the salagram shilas?
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. When you open the door, because we're getting the temple ready, we made a big altar, like a teak wood altar from Mayapur. It's by boat now. It's coming. It's going to be there maybe in 2 weeks. And we have this, used to be our yoga space for our yoga school. We'll make a beautiful temple with these shilas, with beautiful windows that they can come in and take darshan with nice lights and everything. So to go back to where we were speaking, yes, 8,000. So they were ready to come. And so they came. I told them, okay, you come the next day and everything. So I go the morning. I go to the Department of Archaeology, and oh my Krishna, seriously, I mean. So I go there, and so Ram Bahadur said, okay, let me speak. No, actually, what happened? It was Thursday, and he says, actually, I cannot give you immediately the authorization because the director, Damodar Gautam, is in China right now with the Prime Minister of Nepal for important affairs, and he's not coming back till Monday. So there was a few days left before the Prabhus could come back, actually. So he's coming back on Monday. You come back on Monday, and then we'll give you the authorization later. But that Monday, the Prabhus, they had to come back also. It's kind of like really a crunch. And I told him, actually, no later. Huh? We have to meet. It's essential in Monday because after that, we have to leave. So I go then Monday morning, and then I had to wait because the Damodar was not there yet. And then he arrives. Again, it doesn't look at me at all. Ignores me completely. And then Ram Bahadur, he looks at me. Okay, it seems to. And he was tense this morning. He was kind of tense, He was really on the edge. So he goes to meet, because he was afraid. Actually, this morning, as we're waiting for Damodar Gautam, he said, I put my life on the line for you. It's like, I don't know. The Damodar, he told me, you put that on your shoulders. Huh? I'm not going to be responsible if something happens. He said, if something happens, you will be the one who will be blamed. He told him that. He was threatening his own officer. So the morning he was, I really put my life on the line. You go back to France, no problem. Myself, I stay here and I go to jail. I could lose my job. I have my family, my children. What am I going to do? He was kind of freaking out, asking, oh, Krishna, please. And then he was saying, he had the speech of the mayor of Kagbeni. He was saying, this is for the property of Nepal. You cannot do that, It belongs to the treasure of Nepal. It belongs here. You cannot just take them like that. And he was changing his discourse. I was like, oh, it's pretty tight right now. So he goes to speak with him. I'm waiting there and chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then he comes back, but his face is like this. It's like almost like he saw a ghost or something. He looks at me and he says, you know what? The director general, he refused. I said, what? What? He said, he completely refused. And he's not giving you any authorization letter. I said, but what are we going to do? He looks at me in the eyes. He said, you know what? You're a man of God. You sit here and you pray to God. Sit here, okay? Because you really need to pray now because you need a miracle. He told me that. You need a miracle for something to happen. So you see, sit here, sit tight. Give me some, brought me some savories. And chant the name of the Lord. And it's maybe like, sorry? No, it was Ram Bahadur Kumar, the general officer.
So even though you got a letter from
his boss, we got a letter from his boss, and he was so, like, what's the word? Sorry? Not adamant and so like unfavorable towards us that he was not even ready after everything we've gone through. As I've been through, and the Prabhus in the mountains, to do anything for us. I was thinking, this guy is really something. So I was chanting and Hare Krishna, very sincerely. And then, so he says, okay, you need a miracle. So let me speak again with him because he was speaking again to me. I put my life on the line. He was really stressed out. And I could see that he was really emotional also. So I sit there and I chant, and I was speaking to the Prabhus. I don't know what's going to happen, and they told me, we have to go. We have to go. We cannot wait for you. So I say, you know what? I already had the letters from these different ministries. I said, I give it all to you. He had given me the permission to use his fax. You take this with you, and then you go. You cannot wait. You cannot take the shilas. We couldn't take them with us. I still think about them today. So we couldn't bring them with us, and so they left, like that. They had to go, and there was no choice.
But the shilas were in Kathmandu.
It will come. Wait a sec.
So where did the shilas? I didn't understand.
At that time, they were still in Kagbeni, but they had to go. That morning, the bus was ready. They had to go, and they couldn't go. Actually, even in the morning, that's true. I forgot. Ram Bahadur, he called the police. And he was trying also talking to the police to negotiate to see if we could get the shilas, and they scared him even more. And
500.
Yeah, the 500 from Kagbeni. And they were saying, actually, where are these guys? Where are these guys? We'd like to ask them more questions. Yeah. So I said, I don't know where they are now. He was kind of, yeah, we are well wisher. I don't know, they're gone, whatever, So, but he said, that's finished. And he was even more stressed out, you know what I'm doing for you, this police, I could go to jail again. So he goes back to meet Bahadur Kumar, and I chant, and I chant, and I chant. He comes back to me. He says, wow, I don't know what happened. You must have chanted really sincerely. He said, I don't know what happened, but a miracle happened. I know him. He was completely unfavorable to you. And he reluctantly, forced by some supreme will, he felt forced, and then finally he gave authorization. And so I say, okay, because one thing at a time. So I say, okay, but actually this time we have 8,400 salagram shilas. He said, he's like that, what? What? He almost jumped off his chair, I said, yes, we have 8,004, and it's our last trip. He said, you know what? This is the last. He looks at me very seriously. This is the last year I do this for you, This is finished. And then he says, no, it's not possible, And he had to go back, and then he spoke with Damodar Gautam and everything, and he says, actually, the only thing I can do for you is, how many did you bring? How much did we authorize last year? I said, 1,500. They said, okay. Then I give you 100,000, 1,500, 2,000, let's say 2,000 maximum. I say, okay. So we had to deal with that also. So, okay.
How much did you give you authorization for?
2,000. We had 8,400, you know. Okay.
So we're going to do it tomorrow?
I'm almost finished.
No, this is the part coming, you put the fake thing and how it gets caught up.
Oh, yes. So I should finish now?
Should do tomorrow.
Okay. There'll be a part 2 tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Anybody has any comments or questions they can share?
Any comments or questions? Part 2 will come tomorrow. The most crunchy aspect is like, I mean,
Damodar that was refusing to.
Yeah.
Damodar was completely refusing.
You prayed and changed.
Yes.
Changed his mind.
And something happened in his heart. Krishna is in the heart of every living entity.
Permission for 2,000.
2,000, yes.
They need permission for 8,000.
Yes.
So now
But
The numbers hadn't been discussed until that.
I mean, we couldn't because it was pretty tight, you know. I was trying to be very like,
hush.
diplomatic with him and everything, and so yes, and actually that's what he agreed to, you know. So basically, yes, there will be a part 2. But is there any question or comments before we finish today? Jai Shalagram Shilaski, Jai Shila Prabhupada ki, Janatai Gaura Premanande, Haribol.
Wait, Maharaj,
Yes.
real quick.
Yes.
So how many days were you then in Kathmandu at this point? So then all the devotees were still collecting this entire time,
Yes.
and then you were in Kathmandu in all the labyrinth of Nepali bureaucracy.
Yes, for 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to do
For
everything.
2 weeks you were there,
Yeah. 2 weeks. Yeah.
going from place to place, getting all these
Yes,
letters.
exactly. Yeah.
And so these letters were primarily so that when you're leaving the place where you're collecting all these Shalagram Shilas and you're going through the different police like stops, that you have permission to take, because there's the 500 Shilas in what was this town?
Kagbeni.
Kadbeni. So that guy, that governor, he was a no-go.
Yeah,
He was
completely.
very envious.
Oh,
He was
yes.
threatening to kill
Totally.
you all.
Yes.
But you still wanted those 500 Shilas
Yes.
from that place that you had traded the carts for.
Yeah. My idea.
Okay. So then you're trying to get letters for that, and then
Yes.
you're also trying to just get letters for general approval for the 8,000.
Yes. Well, letters for the Shilas, we were crying, you know, to find them again. Letters for the police checkpoint to go down from Kagbeni, from Jamsan, and letters for also the cargo officers, because we're going to ship. And one thing I forgot to mention, we will ship officially with cargo from the Department of Archaeology, but because we had 46 kgs each, every trip we brought Shilas with ourselves, with a letter from Govindnath Tandon, and every year it worked. Actually, this year, I just say that when we get to the airport, when you do things like that, you have to be very kind and look at them in the eyes and be very loving and everything. And then we met the guys at the custom. They saw they were, like there were maybe 8 boxes like that, 8 big bags full of Shilas. And they say, "Oh, they're Shalagam Shilas?" I say, "Yes, we're Vaishnavas. We worship them. Beautiful temple in France." "Oh, okay, good, Jai." And they let us go, you know. So we needed a letter also for the cargo, because they wouldn't ship them without approval from the Department of Archaeology. So that was the main thing, you know. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Well,
totally crazy.
This is like the cliffhanger of the century here.
Yes. But I mean, what happens after is like absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? Yeah, it's like, but this will be part 2. Okay. Anyway,
Oh my God.
just to let you know, all the Shilas are here now. You know, all the except this 500. The 500 we never got, huh? But now we have 10,300 Shilas. Anyway, and then you'll understand how they were finally able. There's another trip after that. You know, there's another trip at the end to get the rest. Anyway, you understand why. Okay. Haribol.
Prabhupada ki
Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Jai Hare Krishna.